Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last panel for today. They obviously keep the best for last, and as you've heard our wonderful MC, our panelists have been introduced. And so we'd kick in straight away, given that we have a short panel, and today's attention spans are typically shorter. I'm really excited to host you here today, and what we'll do is jump in to the crux of things, where in front of you, you have representatives of UN agencies that have been leading the innovation side of sustainable development and humanitarian action as it relates to blockchain technology and how that particular technology can really drive change in this sector. And so very quickly, you've been introduced, but if you could just share a first instance of when you came into contact with blockchain technology as a concept, as an idea. When was your first time with blockchain, Bernhard?
I think probably it might have been crypto actually, but the real use case was probably about traceability, about ledgers that you can use for cash transfers in our case.
Awesome. Francine, how about you?
My first time coming across blockchain was when I was working as Deputy Country Director for UNDP in Indonesia. And the government came to me and said, we think we want to use blockchain, but we don't understand it, and we want to use it to help distribute zakat philanthropy funds. Can you help us?
Awesome. How about you, Diana?
I think in sort of with Switzerland for UNHCR, which has one of our key markets, and the journey with them when they were able to sort of deep dive with us. At first it was sort of an unknown blur, and then kind of that process with them.
Fantastic. Completely different pathways, completely different places and use cases. One that the first time I actually came into contact, not with blockchain, but with blockchain for development and humanitarianism, was actually the World Food Programme's Building Blocks. This is a program that has reached millions of beneficiaries. For those of us in the audience that don't know what Building Blocks is, could you tell us a little bit more and where the program is at right now?
So the basic idea of Building Blocks was really about how can we make cash transfers in a refugee camp or somewhere in a more transparent, accountable, and also secure and efficient all at the same time, which blockchain technology actually just lends itself to that. And so the basic idea was, so a person goes into the store, they purchase food, and then you authenticate yourself, in Jordan in the refugee camps was with an iris scan actually that we have from the UNHCR. And that's essentially accessing your wallet. You can pay like you shop and then you pay with that. So we have over 1 million people still from multiple agencies actually that access the system that way. Right now we're also using the same system as a kind of identity management deep duplication mechanism where the same family that goes to 3 different agencies in Ukraine, it flags that, well, you already got the support once, you shouldn't get it a second or third time. Right now it's being used in Ukraine by 55 different UN entities and NGOs, and we've actually saved $270 million doing that. So it's over $250 million that have been saved by doing that already. And I think that's just a great example of the power of blockchain technology and also a real use case beyond just some hype examples.
Awesome, thank you so much. And moving over to Diana, you've been pioneering new approaches as UNHCR to using public blockchains, firstly in cash disbursement, but now also with impact staking for resource mobilization. What made you as an organization more comfortable to experiment with blockchain, not only for aid delivery, but also for resource mobilization to enable it?
I would say that I think it was a great sort of stepping stone to learn all the benefits and in the delivery and the cash assistance, so in terms of transparency, in terms of efficiencies, et cetera. And so then as fundraisers, we asked ourselves, well, how can we actually apply these same principles to actually generate sustainable resources for refugees? So we sort of began our own journey. We quickly learned that people aren't necessarily willing to donate their digital assets. They'd rather hold on to those. But people really do want to make an impact. And so I think it was those insights that kind of led our Switzerland for UNHCR office that I was referring to before to start exploring what options, and that's where the humanitarian stake pool together with Cardano was created. And the idea being very simple, anybody can delegate their assets, so you get to hold on to them, and then it's actually what you donate is the staking rewards. So that was kind of a win-win. And so far it's been excellent. We have over 200 delegators. We have almost $7 million worth of ADA staked. So it's been a fantastic sort of initiative. And that's taken, again, Switzerland for UNHCR to go one step further, very courageously, and kind of bridge the gap with the financial sector. And in that way, launch the Cardano Impact for UNHCR, ETP. So this is the first humanitarian organization. We are the ones to create this financial product, the exchange-traded product for humanitarian impact. So it's been quite a journey.
Awesome. And for those of you that are Cardano native, you'll know that the stake pool is called WRFGS, for With Refugees, and it's actually the first, the largest and most supported impact staking project globally, including other blockchain protocols. So Cardano can be really, really proud of itself here. Talking about Cardano, talking about blockchain, Francine, UNDP is quite a decentralized organization with over 170 different country offices, sometimes doing things very independently. Working with UNDP in the past, I've noticed a lot of blockchain pilots popping up all over the place. And recently, we've seen a bit more of a centralization, a coordination effort. What was the kind of aha moment that catalyzed this shift and the potential use of blockchain technology for UNDP's work?
Yeah. So, we are very decentralized, and of those 170 country offices that we have around the world, and just to say, we're a bit different from WFP and UNHCR because we're a development organization. And so we have these 170 country offices, of which 130 are already working with digital technologies in support of countries and governments, because we recognize that for over 70% of the SDGs, digital can help, right? And so we've been working with blockchain, and I'd say with various approaches for about 10 years now. One approach has been pilots, right? And the shared value chocolate bar in Ecuador was one of the first pilots we did in 2019, which was basically tracing that chocolate bar back to the farmer and allowing some profits to go directly to him. So we've got lots of these pilots. Another thing that we've done through that accelerator that you mentioned is kind of an approach that we could call 1,000 flowers blooming, right? Just spray and pray, kind of hope that something will take up. And it does, and we have the Blockchain Academy where we trained 500 staff, and then the accelerator which invested in 50 of those use cases. But what you see is that sort of technology application doesn't necessarily create the kind of big change that you're looking for. And so actually a sort of third approach that we're now focused more on, you talked about a more coordinated strategic approach, we would talk about a systems approach where we really look at how blockchain can be part of a broader systemic change. And for me, the aha moment was realizing that a technology-first, technology-led solution isn't going to create that bigger change, and you need to understand beyond technology what will create that change. And so we started reaching out to companies like Cardano, but others as well, to see how can we have a more strategic partnership to create that change at scale. And then we established this sort of blockchain advisory group with different blockchain companies. We're working on the establishment of a digital wallet and a fund to try and take this work to another level.
Thanks, Francine. You may have answered my next question, at least from UNDP's side, which is you've all had very different approaches as organizations when it comes to blockchain adoption, digital asset adoption. You've mentioned a few challenges that you're now kind of taking on. Diana, what sorts of challenges did your organization encounter when it came to its digital asset transformation journey?
I would say it's striking the balance between innovation and trust. We are a very risk-averse sector, and so blockchain sometimes is not understood or misunderstood very often. So a big challenge has been the advocacy component and making sure that the stakeholder building is going along the way so that we're all kind of aligned and moving in the same direction. Another big challenge, again, particularly focused on the funding focus that we've had, is the regulatory. And that's actually one of the big reasons why a lot of our work has been through Switzerland for UNHCR, because they benefit from a very regulated environment, which is Switzerland. So it's allowed Switzerland for UNHCR to be like a sandbox for the wider UNHCR. They can establish partnerships to ensure that regulation is being met. But yeah, generally speaking, the education, the communication has been a challenge, and the way we overcome it is learn as we go, step by step, iterative processes. And just recently, we won the 2025 Reimagining Beacon Award, so that has also helped really put things on the table for us.
Thank you. Bernhard, you're directly involved in the innovation space, specifically for World Food Programme with accelerators running for the past 10 years. What are some of the, outside of building blocks, what are some of the challenges that you've seen from perhaps the startup side when it comes to blockchain technology and using those in humanitarian contexts?
So I think this is one of the beauties of what we do, or also what I personally do or love to do, is like, you need to speak tech, you need to speak problems in the global south that are real, right? And I think that's one of the, bringing that together is kind of the secret sauce, like how we run our programs. World Food Programme has operations in 100 countries and territories, so like our colleagues work with the local communities, with the people, with partners, private sector locally together. And so we can bridge that, right? Like with the technology, getting the best technology in, and also making sure that, you iterate fast, you learn fast. And like the example for the first iteration of building blocks was a test in Pakistan with 100 people, where we brought like a satellite internet with us because we weren't sure whether connectivity would be right? And like by doing that and learning faster, I think you actually can get to solve real issues. I think that's probably step number one. And like for a lot of the founders, the question is always like, okay, is this something that is the problem big enough, and do you solve it in a way that's like it actually makes a difference? And I think this is where it actually helps us that there's no longer the big hype as maybe there's now about AI and now about blockchain, where when blockchain is being used and Cardano, so other networks, it's like we actually see that it's solving a specific issue that otherwise wouldn't be solvable. And I think that's very important, where technology is actually being used for the specific case that we want to be used.
Thank you for that. And we were going to shift over to, priorities for blockchain ecosystems to be more valuable to your organizations, their mandates, and in the end, beneficiaries. What could we do better as an industry, as Cardano, as a specific blockchain? What would help you? How could we help you improve our systems, and how could that be done from your perspective? What's lacking? Diana?
I would say maybe not, speaking of hype, not getting caught up in the hype and making really clear what's the problem that we're solving for, and the scalability element. So I guess what I mean by that, and again, with my bias of the funding aspects, it's kind of recognizing the enormous opportunity that we have within the blockchain community to basically create these types of solutions, funding solutions. We know that global aid is going down dramatically, so here's a huge opportunity to actually use this community and in a way that very much fits the needs of the community. So like I was saying, you don't donate your digital assets because you don't feel comfortable. So finding solutions like the stake pool, like the exchange traded product, where people go about their normal business, but they're still doing good and they're contributing. And this basically allows it to be scalable, and it allows many, many more people to make an impact.
That makes a ton of sense, especially from the resource mobilization perspective. Francine, when you're talking about, the systemic approach, right? You've brought together as an organization, I think, over 30 different Web3 organizations, foundations, exchanges, stablecoin providers. What could we do as an industry to better support UNDP in its ability to execute its mandate?
I just want to quickly say, in terms of challenges or barriers, I think one key one that we didn't talk about is government capacity. So we've got to, in order to unlock the potential of blockchain, we really need to build the government's understanding of how to use it and apply it. So it's not just one-off patch-on applications, but how blockchain can support bigger change within the government to improve services and value to its citizens. So I just wanted to say that. I think that's important. I think moving forward, we need to work in real collaboration, and it would be really great if blockchain companies also move out of their silos and move into a more system-type approach with us. I think in partnership, you bring the technology and the solutions. We bring context. We help understand how, whether it's legal identity, digital payments, future of work, traceability, whatever the issue, we can really help to understand how applying that technology makes sense in that context. For example, banking, financial services, right? You can't do that without understanding the geopolitics of the context in which it's happening. Or legal identity, you can't work on legal identity without understanding those groups who are at risk and maybe don't want to be part of the blockchain. So you need to build solutions that accommodate their needs. So these are some of the nuances that are really important to understand when it comes to using technology as part of a development solution.
Bernhard, I see you're itching to say something.
No, it's, I actually want to add to this, whereas like I think it's important where, if anybody wants to donate, by the way, do donate, right? Like, so that's great. But like, I think there's a big fish to fry here, and like something we need to talk about. Whereas like, I think a lot of times the use cases that you will build like naturally on blockchain, on Web3, maybe in Europe or the US, it's kind of like, maybe it's niche. But these problems can actually exist in the global south, in developing countries, where it actually solves a real issue for millions of people. And like, I think that's a big opportunity where it's going beyond just like, well, kind of philanthropy or doing good to, well, it's a real business opportunity. You're solving a real issue, and you also help communities, some of them that have been like on the disadvantage, to leapfrog into like a future that's actually a lot better off. And I guess it's more like the encouragement also, like to approach this with an open mindset. I love, of course, the collaboration angle, but also the aspect of maybe founders, maybe companies here in the room, you want to do something, whether that's on cash transfers, financial inclusion for unbanked, like supply chain optimization. There's tons of opportunities that are realistic in the space that we operate.
So I want to pick up on what you all just said, in the sense that it seems like there's a massive level of value that UN agencies actually bring, not only to the governments and the beneficiaries that they serve in local contexts, but also to technology solution providers, not only to contextualize what they're building or what they might want to build, but also to access some of these opportunities and also educate at the same time. I think one of the things that I found particularly encouraging was two startups that are actually here today that were part of UNDP's SDG Blockchain Accelerator, getting access to public sector piloting opportunities, and in doing so, educating government authorities in a very practical way. This is what blockchain technology is actually about. This is what it's looking at. These two projects are Zengate and Plastics. One of them looks at agricultural supply chains and supporting smallholder farmers. The other is looking at plastic recycling. And these are just two of the many, many different use cases that were incubated there, and I'm sure as well within the accelerators that you have at World Food Programme, as well as the ones at UNHCR. Now, we know that we have significant needs coming from beneficiaries, and we have a significant reduction in development aid and humanitarian aid. How is blockchain helping you do more with less? And how could it do that to a greater extent? I don't want to say better, faster, cheaper, but I just did. This, I think, would be kind of a wrapping and a closing thought, but Diana, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, more with less is definitely the mantra these days. I would say the two main things is the efficiency and the trust. The efficiency in our operations, the way that we can use it, like I was referring to before, in our cash assistance to make it quicker, efficient, and obviously make the dollars invested go further. But I would argue just as important, or perhaps more important, is the issue of transparency. So again, with the situation that we're at right now, the fact that the public blockchain people, anything that they donate, anything that they give, donors, partners, you can actually see and trace it. We are currently in a situation where there's a huge decline in trust actually in our sector. So all of this helps rebuild that trust. So I think it's an excellent solution to a problem that we have around trust in our sector. So that traceability and that transparency, I think, is super, super important.
Fantastic. How about you, Francine?
I mean, I think that I would focus more on the challenges that we have in the world around us and why blockchain is so important for helping us address and accelerate. If we are to remain relevant and really tackle global development problems today, we need to be faster, we need to accelerate to tackle those problems. So we need to work with blockchain and digital technology companies to get the speed and scale that we need. I think that's, for me, the most important here.
Thank you. Bernhard, to wrap us up.
I would say for the sustainable development, humanitarian or development space, we should have the same kind of ambition level as we have in our daily lives. We should have the best technologies solving the problems for people in the best way, right? Like serving people in the best shape or form. If you want to have services like where you order stuff online or whatever, like you also want to have the best services. So I think having that approach, that's great because also blockchain plays a key role in enabling that, whether it's the trust, whether it's the transparency, the accountability in that, and it allows us to drive efficiency and efficiency gains, as I was saying, like $250 million, right? That allows us to actually have these types of savings. And at the same time, this gives us the proof that your money is well spent, right? Like, and I think this is like where, yes, we do this because we want to be efficient, but at the same time, that proves that this is money well spent.
Thank you. So there you have it. Blockchain and the UN, it's not a new story, but it's certainly an exciting and evolving one. It's looking at everything from resource mobilization all the way to aid and development distribution. And while we're very short on time today, I hope that you'll join us tomorrow during a masterclass to find out one of the ways that Cardano hopes to contribute to some of the many challenges that were brought up here today as an ecosystem, among many others. And with this, I'd like to thank our excellent panelists and our fantastic audience for staying with us today. So yes, thank you.